Now, all was well and good until several years ago when a few very powerful platforms stumbled upon an incredibly lucrative business model. These platforms, namely StockX and Goat, empower resellers to artificially jack up the prices of sneakers like these sky high with their tools that basically are tailored toward quick buck artists, resell bots, and other folks that are in it for the love of the gain, not the love of the game. The implications are really, really bad for the sneaker community.
Man, I don't know what the fuck you just said, little kid, but you special, man. You reached out and you touched it by the heart.
The Sockjig Sneaker Podcast is the anecdote. Welcome to the Sockjig Sneaker Podcast. I am your host, Sockjig. You can follow me on Twitter at Sockjig and on Instagram as well. On today's episode, I talk with TBlake, aka TBlake. We talk about his time on YouTube and why he's not on there as much anymore, working at Cncpts and scaling up e-commerce, cookgroups, Savy, and his new group in this economy. You know, in the conversation, there's a few topics I've previously discussed that I bring up, but I wanted to hear from Tyler since he can speak on them. Like, he can talk about if all YouTubers are secretly miserable or not. A few notes first. There's some static at times on the recording. That's on me and the recording software I used. I'll probably switch it up and try to find something else. There's a part early on where the recording cut out for a moment or two, and I tried to stitch it back together, but for the most part, it's listenable, it's good quality, but I just wanted to warn that it's not perfect. And I'll be doing some more conversation-style podcasts with guests going forward. The biggest hindrance has been just me and setting up a time to talk. My free time to record podcasts is usually like 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Pacific time. And a lot of people I want to talk to are on the East Coast, so those vampire hours aren't exactly ideal for them either. So maybe I'll interview a few vampires. Ask Count Chocula what he thinks about the 450s. Anyways, here's my conversation with Tyler. All right, my guest today has been an all-around entrepreneur in the sneaker space for many years now. Some of his projects include Sneaker Deal's affiliate site Kicks Under Cost, a Shopify augmented reality app called LevAR, or Lavar. He's also worked at Cncpts on the retail e-commerce side, but many of you may know him from his YouTube channel and more recently his group in this economy. Please welcome TBlake, aka TBlake on most platforms. Tyler, how's it going?
Yeah, thanks for the intro. It's going really well. That was pretty good. You know, it's so funny about the Lev AR. Like, we thought we were being so smart, and granted, the company was founded quite some time ago now, but the whole point is like LEV and like AR, like leveraging AR. But literally no one phonetically has gotten it. So, it's just one of those things. So, but yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think most people probably think of LeVar Burton first off.
Oh yeah. Like, what's this, what are these white dudes running a company called LeVar? Who knows? But yeah, it's been doing a lot of different stuff and, slowly kind of increasing my hustles and passions and pursuits, and a lot of that really came from sneakers. So it's cool to be on your podcast, and I see your investigative work on Twitter and sharing and disseminating information. So I think it's pretty cool what you're doing.
Yeah, I've joked that I'm Sneaker Twitter's independent reporter.
Yeah, well, someone has to be, right? We can't. I can't think of any sneaker publication that you can trust, especially Complex, etc., and all that stuff. So.
Honestly, that's how it started. I was like, I have these thoughts. And if you see how my Twitter account has kind of evolved over the years, it's just my thoughts out there. No shenanigans, no way to like kind of pump myself up. There's all these tricks and formulas, as you probably aware of on the YouTube side. I've just been, like I said, I've gotten over just by saying my thoughts. So,
yeah. Well, you're cashing in on the socks now. You did some merch. I saw people were like botting your drop, right?
Yeah, and even that just happened organically because I was like, well, this is my name. Sockjig is my name, so what if I tried doing socks? And I did a run. And honestly, I can only really handle one project at a time, so I don't really have this desire to make this, fashion house or anything. So it's just been this side thing that, okay, I don't have anything else coming up in the next few weeks. Let me try dropping a sock. So that's how I've handled it, really.
Nice. No, I think that's cool when you can get the following to the point where people are starting to kind of ask for stuff organically. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So some of the stuff I mentioned that you've been working on. There's probably 5 or 6 more that I didn't even mention that I know you're working on. I know you're working on like houses. One thing I wanted to mention is I actually got my Stash Spiridons off you on your Come Up store site.
Oh, nice. Were they signed by him?
They were not signed. I was hoping they'd be
Oh,
signed, but they were. I think they were like $100, even under retail, and I was happy to get them. I still wear them all the time.
oh, nice. Yeah, there was a period of time where I really was getting into like moving like really brick product in bulk. And I mean, I wish I could go back in time because like this was also when even like the really GR SBs, I mean, you couldn't give them away. They were so difficult to move.
Right.
But yeah, the stash joints, those were, yeah, man, I probably sold like 400 or 500 pairs of those. That was a tough one. I thought that colorway and shoe was so cool, and it obviously kind of flopped at retail. But
It was I think not as many people were aware of his previous like 95s and other stuff that he had done, and so was coming back with Nike, and I don't know if it wasn't managed right on the brand side. They didn't create enough, energy as they call it.
yeah,
But I think if the same shoe dropped now, it's 2 years later, it's totally different now than it was back then.
yeah. I mean, I'm rooting for Stash. I mean, we did a lot of projects with them, and also like even before, like when I was up in Boston for school, Stash was like really affiliated with Concepts and doing stuff with Bodega. So there was a surprising number of, like, I remember attending, I think like a Hennessy event where Stash like customized. Oh no, it was Tito's vodka where Stash like customized the bottles. So I'm actually looking at an original piece of artwork from Stash that I bought when he was raising money like the early stages of COVID-19.
Right.
But the problem with Stash is like not the problem, but like if you're buying stuff to like invest, is I don't think he has any gallery representation. He's just doing everything, solo. And it's really the galleries that are, colluding and setting the prices and pumping up the artists. So, in a certain sense, it's kind of cool that Sash has stayed so independent, but, he just doesn't have the same like marketing star power that, even though him and Cause were kind of doing graffiti around the same time, right? Like Cause trajectory was a lot different for those reasons. So, but damn, yeah, well, thanks for your $100, dude. That was great. Appreciate that.
I like I said, I still wear them. I really appreciate it. So, how did you get into that area where you have 400 pairs of stash? Was that like you don't do that now? I know, but was that just from your retail experience, from working with brands, from people like Futura or Stash or whoever? How did you get into that kind of stuff?
Well, I had a lot of experience with basically like doing the line sheets or buys. So I would be in meetings where Nike's like rolling out their products, and in addition to that, in the Boston area specifically, I actually learned a lot from there's two Asian guys. One of them owns a huge store in LA that I can't remember the name of, and he just opened another store in China. His name's Green. What my point being is that these guys were really early on a lot of product that ended up blowing up. So like I was selling a lot of like really mid like product junk like SB product no one wanted, and it was all going to China. So like those guys are about a year and a half ahead of like when I saw trends really hitting in the United States. So it's kind of like using their like what they were asking me to find. I was kind of using them as like my canary in the coal mine for buying stuff. But generally speaking, I was really just doing a lot of brokering. So like the stash thing, the reason why you saw that on the website was I probably didn't have someone that could take 100% of it, but for me to get the best pricing, I had to just take on that volume. So maybe I sold half of it to one buyer, and then like worked out the math of what it would take to ship it myself. But I'm like very opportunity obsessed. So like when I am getting offered, bricks or whatever it is, Actually, someone texted me that they had a bunch of drones that were bought from some sort of a warehouse at closeout, and I just brokered of retail drones to some guy that's going to do drop shipping. It doesn't necessarily matter if it's sneakers. I've definitely learned is like the under retail product. It's a lot bigger of a market, and also in a certain sense less competitive than what I think like some of your listeners that are doing like botting and going after. You have to think, you could be making just as much margin as you would on some of the high end releases. So it was like all your skills kind of build on each other. So it's like it doesn't really matter if it's patio beaters or Nike SBs. Like if you understand the things that you'll need, your needs don't really change in terms of like making the deals happen or getting it to the end customer. And then it's like, what's next? Like where else are there opportunities? So, being opportunity obsessed, I think, is a really cool and powerful thing. And I think there's just so much entrepreneurial spirit in the sneaker and clothing like resale game, like inherently. So it's a cool space to be in.
Yeah. No, I see on my Twitter, people go, they get into cards, for example.
Yeah.
And then they get to a certain stage on eBay, and then they're looking at the Amazon FBA, I think it's called, the business program that they have,
Yeah.
and they start scaling up, like that's what you said, building one skill on top of another skill. And I don't see that many, getting to the point where they're, getting container stuff in, but I'm sure there are some. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what the goal of in this economy, your Patreon Discord is to kind of get people to that next level of beyond just having a storage unit full of sneakers?
Yeah. So I think so. One of the things that I got started in Discord was so like I had someone on Twitter like call me out because I was selling one of my cars on Twitter, and they were saying that I was going broke for it, and I'm like very, very competitive, and like I like negative things to motivate me, which is something I'm working on. But this person had like their information for their Discord group in their bio, and like I took a really deep dive into Discord as a platform, and we might touch on like the time I was on YouTube, but one of the things that was really frustrating for me on YouTube was there were a lot of people that like were interested in what I had to say, and also like kind of aligned with the vision where it's like I don't want to just review sneakers. I want to like teach tangible skills, because for me it was like, growing up, my dad's a construction worker, like my mom, we're not really making money where I'm learning stuff about finances or credit or anything. And then it's like once I got to college, I was like, oh my God, like these like really rudimentary things that I wish I had learned earlier could have really positively set me up for success. Like what if I was doing these things even a year earlier, right? So I wanted to start putting out more content on YouTube dedicated to some of the stuff at business. I went to Babson College, and around the same time I was doing a lot of guest lecturing, and I was working with some of the faculty over there to actually help teach a class. And then COVID-19 happened. And around that same time, I'm looking at Discord, and I just felt it could be a really cool platform to kind of get this, this want to teach off the ground. And then I also really disliked how some people that'll do like guru coursework, it's like they'll sell you something and then they kind of like burn you on it, right? It's like you don't get like a follow up from that person. Like it's not very
Yeah,
tailored to you.
there's a formula
Like
for that kind of stuff, right?
yeah, exactly. And but that's the thing. It's like I'm not an idiot. Like I understand what I could be doing, which is, writing up some bullshit coursework, putting enough ad dollars behind it, getting enough eyeballs for it, pricing it where, my CPA, I'm just basically, to a certain extent printing money against it. But that wasn't interesting to me. And also I was coming into making this content saying, how can I make this accessible for people, because it's something where I didn't need it to be my livelihood. And I think setting up the group that way, where, I do a ton of one-on-one consulting stuff. I'm like working on guys, that are growing their businesses. One of the guys when he first started was going through the process of starting his own franchise for a UPS store. Like I probably spent like 5 or 6 hours with him helping, and what I bill people for consulting, like just doesn't make sense for, someone that's like young and aspiring just to learn. So like the group in a certain sense is like crowdsourcing the time and energy that I, can then give back to them in a really personalized and tailored way. And over the years, it's really evolved. I mean, I thought it would be cool to have the group, and at the time, like a really good month on YouTube was paying me like $2,000, and that was probably like 40 hours of making videos, editing, posting. And I was like, man, like if I could just switch gears and like get 50 people to pay $20, like that $1,000 would be enough for me to
Right.
put aside the time. And it's like I much prefer this to YouTube. Like I was the kind of person that was always replying to the comments and everything. And yeah, I
Yeah,
just
those
kind
comments are,
of
a sign of, like I've always said, these haters are usually often a sign of success. And if you're going to put yourself out there, there's going to be people taking shots at you, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what people forget is like, I just turned 28. I've been on YouTube since I was like 17. There is literally nothing that anyone can say on the internet that's going to discourage me or put me down. And I like rising to the challenge, and at this point it's like, hey, I know what I'm providing is valuable, and I have a lot of love and passion for the group and what I'm putting into it, and it's something I'm tremendously proud of. And I don't being grounded with those kinds of things, I think have just made this like a wonderfully positive part, of my life, and also I think really positive for the people that have been a part of it. And the other thing people don't understand, I think too, and I wasn't trying to be on the podcast talking too much about Discord, is I've had some critiques where it's like, your group doesn't offer this, and that, right? When it
Like,
comes,
do you have a
super
card
tailored.
mod?
Yeah. But what people don't understand is like I want you to be able to join, like to learn the skills. And if you get the bug, like, we're teaching investing, there's tons of Discord groups that will just do calls, stocks, investing. They're, 30, 40, $50 a month. Same with trading cards, right? They're super, super tailored. My whole goal is to like help people that are wanting to learn, because if you go into the chat section of any of these servers that are super tailored, half the shit is just like literally shit posting and trolling, and the other half is like not really the environment where you want to be like asking like noob questions. You know what I mean? Like you kind of get eaten
Right.
alive. So it's like, hey, here's like a really comfortable space to learn all this stuff. And guess what? Like after a month, if you feel like you're ready to go move on to the next thing, I'm not trying to keep you here. I'm not worried about retaining. I'm worried about whether or not that person feels like, they've learned something that they can start kind of like leveling up their hustles and goals. And part of that is, getting into one of those servers where it's just cards and they have the best monitors, and or getting into one of the servers where it's just stocks and options. But I think it's so cool. And a lot of these group owners I've talked to and I work with, and I think there's just so much wonderful things happening with these groups and the people that are running them. And it was kind of cool to kind of like stake a place in it, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I've always said is have a group of friends, have a group chat, do all your sneaker stuff there, keep it local, keep it small. There's probably breakout groups within your group itself, and a lot of them are friends that I have just came from a monitor group that I was in as well too. And like you see these things about like men's health and stuff like that. I know women are in there too, but like just rely on your group. A bunch of friends that
Right.
you've made over the last year, go talk to them about your struggles, or whether it's whatever cards or those sneakers that you bought or whatever, or like real life stuff. It's like you can rely on these relationships you've made. The joke is always, I'm here for the friends and not really the sneakers, but it's totally true. You are sometimes here just for the friends and connections that you make.
Right. No, and it's a really good point you made about like the relationship aspect of it too. Like the guy that runs sneaker Twitter, I've gotten pretty close with, and we've talked a lot about mental health. It's something I've really struggled with, and I'm still like learning to deal with. And I think that what I'm trying to do, especially with the group, right? So like I have, so many people that are paying, but also like over 7,000 people that are free. And I'm putting out content for free every month. Like this last month, I literally built out a habit guide and a schedule guide, and like a food diary. So stuff for tracking and making change in your life, and journaling, and kind of like trying to lead by example, saying like, hey, like this shit's really important. Like, don't forget about yourself during this process when you're making money. Cause like I've been to that point where I thought like, oh, if I only make this much more money, like I'll feel better. And it's like, that's not really that. First of all, that's not even the solution. And also like, you'll just have that increasingly empty feeling the closer you get to reaching whatever, monetary goal it is. And to be able to stress some of those things, and stress the relationships, and stress working together, I think it is something that I wish, and other people do it too, but I think like when you are in a position where you have people that are following you, and willing to listen, it's like, if I can offer some sort of vulnerability that encourages someone else to make a positive change, helping their mental health or other people in their life, I think that's pretty powerful too. And I can't see that, going away. Yeah, I'm trying to be one of those people on social media, like when a lot of the civil unrest stuff was happening last year, and a lot of influencers are scared about fucking up their check or follower count, and I think that as I've gotten older in this space, it's like it's just not you just kind of got to be real. It's not really worth
No, I'm older. I'm 43. So in my group chat,
Damn, you're
I'm usually
43. I wanted to
yeah, I'm
get
way
that,
older.
dude.
Yeah, I've seen a
You
bunch
have
of
such a
stuff. So
youthful voice.
yeah, so in the group chat, I'm the dad voice in there sometimes because a lot of my friends are way younger, and I'll say things like just share whatever you're thinking in here. You don't have to keep it to yourself. Or I'll say the opposite. I'll be like, go to Vegas and blow your money. You're gonna have a great time, right? Because a lot of people do that too, where they're caught in this hustle and culture world a little bit too much and kind of not live in their youth. I had a blast when I was 20. I was not a hustler or that type of personality back then at all. So you can change, you can grow. You should be, who you want to be. But and the other thing I've always said on this podcast is these companies, they don't give a fuck about you. Only people can give a fuck about you. So that's why you should, look out for it and try to make those connections with these people.
Yeah, no, totally, man. And I'm looking forward to now that, COVID's lifting. Like I've floated the idea. So one of the things that I did relate years before, during the YouTube times, was I did a really large scale sneaker event at Gillette Stadium. So I have a lot of background with event planning and coordination, and I think that if you look at all these pockets of Discord groups, like I think that it is just such a gigantic category. Like, and I mean, look at Soul Savvy, right? Like they're able to kind of like bullshit their way towards raising
Yeah.
money, but like anyone that's in a group knows that like what they're doing is like the corporate version of all these hundreds and hundreds of groups that are like full of like ambitious people like out there. And I think that out
Yeah,
there working hard.
I've said they're a white hat cook group is what they are. Because most of these discords are wearing the black hat.
Yeah, dude. Oh man. I actually I didn't realize that I knew the guys that founded that company until they put out their thing. But yeah, dude, it's anyway.
Honestly, I know them as well too. I've been in the group. It's totally it's a cook group with white hat, and their thing is they have a stance on resell. So the idea is there's way more non resellers out there than resellers. So let's market towards them.
Yeah, no, I think that their approach is really so like trust me, I understand their approach. In a certain sense, it's like how I decided to run my group, which was I'm not trying to go after the person that knows everything. I want to go after the person that sees someone tweeting out their successful checkout using, Balco bot or whatever. And it's like, what the fuck is that? What's even going on there? Like, what is Discord? That sort of thing. And then, pulling back the curtain on what's going on, I guess. But yeah, that's their approach too, which is there's so many people that because they don't know what's going on, can kind of get led into paying $33 a month, which I think is astronomical based on my understanding of what they offer. But they built a really strong community, and if you read any of these books on marketing and retention and how people behave in groups, it's like they're just pushing through the marketing buzzwords to make it happen and raise money. And I just don't. To me, I don't think that's sustainable, and I also don't think it's any sort of legacy that I'd want to be part of. But yeah, that's my
Yeah, there's this book. It's coming out. I think it might have released this week. Actually, it's called cultish, the language of fanaticism. And it's by this linguist. And she's basically talking about how groups will use certain language and terms to build a community, to build an ideology, to build this us versus them attitude.
Right.
Because once you attract those kind of customers, they're going to be your customers for life. Like I think the example they use in the book is Peloton. And there's certain Peloton stuff, and sneaker has their own terms. Like a normal person's not going to know what dead stock means, for example. But this is very company specific, and
look at Peloton. They had those treadmills that, like, I think like someone died getting stuck underneath it, and the people that had the treadmills were like, I don't even need to send it back. It's okay.
Yeah. So the part that I disagreed with what they're doing, if they were saying out here that, hey, we're just a group trying to do something different from the chaos of the sneaker world, come join us, we're friendly, we'll help you, that kind of stuff, which they all do. That's no problem. Like, who has a problem with that? No one. It's this they've created this mythology of, we're going to save sneaker culture. You guys are, it's like a preacher trying to say, you guys are all going to hell unless you come follow me and what I'm saying, right? So I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want someone moderating my behavior, if I resell or not resell. That's just kind of anti-human nature. If you say StockX is evil, StockX is the bad guy, then you're going to attract the people who do that, and they're going to follow you.
Right. And that is totally a crowd. I mean, there's a lot of like old heads and also like, I would just be targeting everyone that's like whining about sneakers on Twitter, every Saturday when it's trending, or someone will just have some ridiculously bad take as to why they didn't get the shoes.
Yeah, I say they focus on the Nice Kicks IG commenters, everyone who's commenting on the sneaker news or Nice Kicks Instagram post about a drop. That's their target audience.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how many of those people there are though, and I don't know how many of them are going to pay $33 a month. But it's whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, you can have a company. If you can provide value, but I don't know. I just don't want someone talking down to me as if they know everything. And like, I do this, I don't get paid anything. Am I bad for sneaker culture because I resold a bunch of sneakers? I don't think I am, right?
Yeah. No, it's just it's an oversimplification of a very people like very simple presentations to problems that are a lot more complex than they might think. So.
Yeah, the part that just made me laugh was that venture capitalist guy saying, I believe in community, not these evil market people who sell shoes for whatever price that they want. It's like, you can go on StockX and sell any shoe, list any shoe for $2,000. It's not going to sell. But this guy's straight up lying to us.
Yeah, a venture capitalist feigning altruism on a minute and a half video with his VC group, repeat pattern as the background behind him was like, it was pretty cringy.
You're saying for the love of the game, not the gain. It's like,
the love.
What is a venture capitalist other than someone who wants gains?
Meanwhile, this guy for a living is trying to like look at something and then make it 100x the value. Yeah, dude, trust me, But you know what?
I bought something and I bought it for this price, and then later I'm going to sell it for this price. Am I talking about a reseller or am I talking about this guy?
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm pretty cynical about I try not to think too much about this stuff, because when you start really unraveling a lot of these things, it's just like you don't really want to see how the sausage is made. What's another saying like that? Like you don't want to meet your heroes.
Or how the fudge is packed.
Yeah, trust me, dude. Anyway.
That's a good segue. I want to talk about YouTube. And, there's a big period a few years ago where YouTube, ShoeTube, or whatever was pretty big. And I didn't really follow it along all that much, but I definitely watched a few of your videos. What caused you to kind of step away from that? You kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, but what was the thing where you said that, this influencer YouTube star thing is not for me?
I think that here's something that was kind of, I guess, interesting about it, right? Is like there's someone might be hearing this saying that I walked away from it because I fell off and I was washed, which might be like somewhat accurate. It was definitely tiring, but more than that, for me, what I started realizing with the content that was doing well was these people that I knew in real life were playing a character and in a lot of ways portraying themselves in a way that I couldn't get behind. And I knew what I could be doing with my videos to get the views and keep it going and stay in the
Yeah,
rat
the
race.
formula.
Yeah, I was like, I can't do this. I gotta, the videos I'm making, they're gonna be on the internet for a long time. I'm not gonna. Now I'm thinking. I guess I threw a Supreme brick off of a balcony, but that was more something. I was doing some more. That was more satire than me trying to break something to get views.
Yeah.
But I guess at that period too, I was also kind of doing satire on like how ridiculous things were getting, where it was like people were putting stuff in a microwave, and on the same note, the amount of replica sneakers that were entering the YouTube review space was staggering. And
Honestly, when I look now, I just assume if they got an early pair, unless it's like Seth Fowler went to Stadium Goods or something like that. Some of these other guys, I just assume it's a fake pair.
yeah, I think people don't like, and I've even seen this the last couple of years and talk about a cult following, like the people that do the rep stuff, they're not B, they're actually B grades or they're unauthorized, like people, there's so many words around what they are, but it's like they're not real. And worse, some people turn around and sell them for full resale, sell fakes for full resale price, essentially, right? Like
Right.
a guy in Boston had a bunch of the 7-Eleven dunks that are clearly reps, where people,
You can tell that story though. You can say they made all these pairs and then the drop got canceled and now I got them.
but
Right?
it's
Like,
like when you talk to these people and they don't know what a bill of lading is and they don't understand, like, trust me, there's stuff that'll leave the factory. Like, I had a really great experience with Adidas and, talking to John Wexler, who's someone that it was a wonderful influence in helping me really make good decisions when it came to thinking that I wanted to work in the sneaker industry. But it's like, people have no idea. Really, there's only a couple people that really are in that space dealing with stolen product, and it's not the dude that's getting a size run with no boxes here.
right.
Um,
Fell off the truck in Memphis or something.
yeah, dude, trust me. How many times? Oh yeah, it got stolen from someone in Memphis. It's like, huh? Yeah, did it? Like, do you know how they track their inventory there? Like with Bluetooth and everything. Like, I don't think they're coming off the back of the truck in Memphis. Anyway, um, but that really permeated the YouTube space, and now it's like I can't even compete because even being able to get early pairs from boutiques in Boston. I got someone that's got the fake version 3 weeks before it's actually, hit a retailer store, and it's like,
And those early videos are the ones that make that money, right? Like you said, the
right,
the $2,000, the in hand look of the new Yeezy 450 or whatever.
right, right. Or back then when the early 350 colors way. And if you look at my channel, those were some of the good videos. And the best part about doing them is, you get the people in the comments saying that they're fake or early. It's like, no, dude, like, I, I got these, I got the packing slip from Adidas when they left. This was back when Adidas was shipping Yeezys in a box that had on the exterior of the box the
Right.
style codes and
Yeah.
and oh my God, that was a huge stuff. Definitely got stolen back then. That was a huge problem. It just the people playing a character, and then it started to kind of become about pranks. And I was also like,
Oh yeah, the getting into the bathtub of Kool-Aid. It's like, what does that have to do with sneakers?
or eating fucking Oreos out of your Oreo shoe. It's like, listen, I was like, I'm very quickly going to be a grown man here, and I don't want to have to. First of all, trying to stay relevant is not sustainable, right?
Right.
Like, think of even like a really famous, successful singer or artist that's had like a tremendous career, right? Like their relevancy window, maybe 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Which is still great and incredible, but it's like even at the highest level, it's like, people around even professional sports, same thing, right? So as a YouTube personality, when you got the guys that have been doing this for 10 years, like I also just kind of wanted to get off of the hamster wheel, so to speak, and be like, yo, like I need to start coming up with a side hustle or spending the time that I'm spending on YouTube and putting that energy into something that's sustainable for the long run versus, busting my ass to make $1,500 a month and dealing with, hate comments and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
just, but
Especially women in that space. I just can't imagine what's going on. And
yeah,
sometimes when I look at, like, when I follow a bunch of YouTube sneaker YouTube people on Twitter, a lot of what they talk about is just actual, like, being on YouTube and chasing the algorithm or how they create content. It's kind of like the inside baseball kind of stuff. And to me, I was like, just not interesting to me. I just don't care about what YouTube did, about their formula. And it's almost like that becomes the content itself. And I've
right.
seen the, YouTube videos itself like that as well.
Right. Yeah, but I think the key takeaway from there, and what I try to encourage people that are interested in spaces is like wherever you're making the content, own that distribution channel. So like now there's a lot of really good tools. I forget what the name of the is it Substack? There's some way like for now newsletters
The
and
newsletters, yeah.
publications and Gumroad and Patreon. It's like, fuck these companies that are going to, at the drop of the hat. Like, can you imagine working to get over 100,000 subscribers and then it's like you post a video and there's like it's getting, two or 3,000 people are seeing it. Like what a farce, right? Like the companies that the social companies are constantly moving the goalposts and you're
Yeah.
having to adapt on the fly to make your living. I just think that
Yeah. Someone reported a bong in the background and now your big video's demonetized or
right,
something like that.
right,
Yeah.
or you get a takedown request for something, But don't get me wrong. Look, like some of the guys that I know are still in it are doing extremely well for them. Actually, they're doing so well. I almost don't. I'm not really. I feel like I'm missing something. But it's incredible. I mean, like my friend Harrison, I think he just got picked up by like Mr. Beast's team. So it's like, there's some of these guys that stuck it through and they're having like incredible, lives, but like, they really, really stuck it through and worked. And I'm glad that it happened for them. But on the other hand, there's some other people that worked just as hard and it just didn't work out. And now it's like you're 25 or 26 and you've bbeen doing this obscure social media thing and that was your job and now it's like, man, like I'm being 20 or being like almost 30 being like, man, I have to go get a real job. Like what does that even look like now? So
Yeah. Honestly, like I think I've mentioned this on a previous podcast. It's like some of these guys, they look miserable. I can tell they seem miserable. They don't really care about whatever new, especially if they got seeded something Under Armour or something, second or third tier. And then I was like, what's the point?
yeah,
And then you mentioned Wex and Adidas. You can see Wex. You can see on his face that he looks like he's a happy guy. He's a grounded guy. He's always smiling. Did Wex and Adidas approach all these YouTubers back in day, during their big Ultra Boost Yeezy phase about showing shoes, about the resale market? Because you
so
kind of alluded to that, right?
yeah, so I have some insights there. So first of all, for quite some time, Yeezy and the shoes entirely separate from Adidas Originals. They like you would be shocked at the amount of like the lack of information sharing between organizations. Yeezy Supply totally its own beast as well. It's pretty complicated actually. I would love to read what sort of contract Kanye worked out, but you can definitely tell he learned from his Nike contract there. So as in terms of hyping up Yeezys, I don't know anyone in this sneaker review space that was getting seeded that sort of product. Now, when it comes to originals, Wex was too high up to be doing seeding, so it would go to like Adidas Entertainment. They have an office out in LA, and I know some of the people there that are in charge of seeding tastemakers with different products. So that's why you'll see some of these guys will get the Pharrell friends and family. I personally got sent like a 1 of 500 Adidas NMD that was in a Rimowa suitcase. And like, I mean,
The
dude, like
New York City one, or like it was
yeah,
the
yeah,
all black
yeah. And
one.
like I grew up having like, we'd get some fucking suitcase from like Marshalls on sale. So I didn't even know what
Yeah.
Rimowa was. And that is the only thing I regret selling is I sold the whole kit to some dude. And I wish I'd kept the suitcase because now I'm finding myself like, man, that would have been such a wonderful thing to have. But I digress. What I'm trying to say is that yeah, these guys are actively trying to put the product, into the hands of these influencers, but not just the people that are doing sneaker YouTube. All facets of mommy bloggers, the people that are making content where they just getting the product is enough for them to post about it. And Adidas at that time when the Ultra Boost and NMD was really, really that hot, like it was like the clout to be able to say you're getting seeded by Adidas. Whereas like
Yeah.
if Under Armour wanted me to review the fucking, oh my God, what was that Steph Curry shoe that was like, they did like an elevated material Steph Curry shoe. It's like, you guys are gonna have
I
to.
remember the dad shoe one. That was a big meme for a while.
Yeah, the dad shoe one. You know what? Let me Google it because this is going to be Under Armour because I actually did this activation. Under Armour Curry Premium. Let's see here. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
yeah, the brands are trying to go to these people to launch. Yeah. Oh my God, look, I just found it because it's these are my photos. I actually took of them. It was called the Curry Lux Low. The Curry Lux.
Oh, the suede, and it's all over suede, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I see it there. Yeah.
Yeah, these were terrible. Yeah, Adidas is and all these companies are actively trying to get use these people as social currency to reach the audiences that they have.
I see it. I'm honestly surprised more don't jump off the hamster wheel and, like you said, and kind of do their own thing. But you said there's people that you do know that are the cream of the crop at the top who are still probably making decent money at it. So that's, I assume, the goal at all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, and to a certain extent, like I was kind of like a lot of these guys I'm still very close with, and I talk to all the time, because I was like, for better or worse, like I was like the business person in the sneaker YouTube community, so I was kind of tapped or I would help some of these guys with making extra money monetizing, right? So like, a lot of these guys didn't know anything about affiliate linking for their videos, just opening up that channel for them.
Right.
It's the little things where, you can be charismatic and have an awesome channel, but have no clue how to run a business or how to negotiate, and ask for, like I recently just dusted off my influencer hat and went down to Georgia, Atlanta for an eBay, watch authentication, project. And I'm fucking washed, but it's like, some of these guys, I'll help them review the contracts so they can get, the biggest bag possible because it's like these brands have the money. They're just all about, trying to milk people for the least amount of money possible. So
Right.
I was trying to help as many people as I could. Fomer Simpson, Mike, he's someone that I really enjoy and he's doing a really great job with Patreon, and just making the content there. So a lot of these guys have really grown with their audience and understand the different ways they can make money. But, for other people, it's like, kind of like taking it week by week, just hoping that the content hits. So
Yeah. No, I remember hearing someone just looks at search trends of what are people searching for, and then makes videos on that. But then it's also got to align with what they actually know and do. Like if people are looking at how to style foam runners or how to style, hot dunk highs, for example, and you like those things, so then go ahead, it matches up. But if you're researching, graphic cards and you don't know anything about graphic cards, but you're gonna go pay resale and start doing that lane, it's just like give it a break is
yeah.
what I kind of think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, jumping around, and like you said, or we both acknowledge, right? that People will look like they're miserable doing it, or they're putting on a facade for it. And I was like, I made like maybe like 1,000 video. I made a lot of videos. Like the person that videos is me. Like
Yeah.
I'm not playing someone. Like, that's just how it is. And I think knowing some of the people that make content in real life versus their YouTube persona, but obviously it's started, right? Like they're now some of the content, the videos are 20 minutes long. So it's like you're running a show, like when I watch HGTV and they're renovating homes, it's like I'm sure the ladies, on there don't fucking go home and talk to their friends like they're running a show, but
Yeah.
it was just for me personally, there, like I said, all the reasons you kind of talked about is why I personally bowed out, but doesn't mean that it's not impossible for people to still,
Breakthrough.
make a go at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I do this. I took the same approach for my Twitter account. I was like, my thing was just I wanted to get a voice out there that is totally independent, as we joked about earlier, and I could say whatever I want. Because there's people who can't say things like that. If you work at Kith or Concepts or wherever at a brand, you can't make jokes about a brand because you're gonna fuck up your seating or whatever it is. I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. So it's kind of funny. Sometimes people come to me and they're shit talk, even some of these YouTube people, and they'll do the shit talk to me. And I'm sure you get some of that as well too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, dude, look, trust me, yeah, the shit talking on the internet has no end, especially when you're putting out your opinions, and you have talked about some like incendiary and incendiary. No, that's not the right word.
Incendiary.
Incendiary, yeah. You know those words where it's like I could write that in an essay, but I really am hoping I don't have to say it out loud. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
one of those. Yeah. So you go after the hot button topics. I was trying to get around a cliche, but here we are. And yeah, I mean, I think it's I get we're jumping around a little bit more, but like when you mentioned in the beginning, like the kicks and clothes under cost, like that those came from me thinking I was going to work for Adidas and Nike and acknowledging that I could no longer make YouTube videos while I was working for the brand. So I was like, how can I still have some sort of thing to do with sneakers and clothing that's absent, me, Tyler personally, so that's what grew out of it. But yeah, I think there has to be, and I started following your page because I think you were going after maybe Joe LaPuma or Matthew Welty or someone. You were saying something at Complex where I was like, oh yeah, preach, say it,
Yeah, yeah. Though there was, I think
So
it was right when COVID hit, and Adidas had done some stuff where they weren't going to pay people, and this is like really early on, like in March or something, and they weren't going to pay their rent. And I was talking about it, and I said, it's not like Complex is going to talk about this because right now on their YouTube, there's an Adidas branded series sponsored by Adidas with Welty and Brendan Dunn and Joe LaPuma. Joe LaPuma, a guy who never wears Adidas, is in there in Superstar. So I joked about that kind of stuff. And they kind of addressed it, but not really. It's so easy to say someone's a hater and that's it. But my point was like right on that you can't say anything when you're getting paid on this side. So why do I care when you have anything to say?
right. Right. It's and you can build a brand around being authentic, even if you have a position that someone doesn't agree with. At least I can, go out there and you can go out there and speak your mind. And I think that, whether or not you agree or not, there's a certain level of respect. And I think some of the people that are, muzzled to a certain extent, might envy that for you, but it's hard, right? Because not everyone is going to be able to run their own business with their own boss. And I can go on Twitter and fucking tweet anything short of like, my boss isn't going to ask me, Tyler, what was this tweet about?
Yeah.
Um, but but at the same time, like people, I think long for and want to be heard and share their opinions and talk about the things that other people aren't talking about. And your page is a good example of that. And so are, going back to micro communities. I mean, look at how powerful, some of the micro communities are where people can get together and talk about, the things that, not to make it political, but like, the quote unquote mainstream news, right? Like, like
Oh, look at what
there's
Reddit did with GameStop, right? That one channel, whatever it was, the crypto one.
yeah. Yeah, it's incredible, and I think what people are realizing now is there's a lot of power in groups, and the internet's made it easier for people to mobilize, and the last year and close to a half now with COVID just intensified that with everyone being stuck inside.
So in your in this economy, is it we talked about some of the advice and stuff that you do, but is it really like is it still at the bottom a cook group for, pools and patio heaters and that kind of stuff? I know in this hustle world there's terms that they use too. One of the ones I just learned the other day was called BOLO, be on the lookout. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's like someone said, "Oh, Rush Limbaugh just died." Bolo Rush Limbaugh first edition books, and it's like, is that the kind of stuff that's going on there, or is it totally different?
That's a good question. All right, so I have my Discord up right now. Let me give you the first channels, right? So we have a consulting and advice channel where people are sharing things that they're having trouble with, looking for either general help or they can open up a ticket and I can like for instance someone had a really specific question the other day about like a property they were planning on renovating and they didn't want to share the exact address, whatever, right? So then we have investing, real estate, talking about credit, that sort of thing. But what I've done is I've built out guides based on my own experience and things that I've actually done that can help people that know nothing about any of these things get a general understanding for it and then ask a specific question pertinent to them. So before anything, it's like I want to help people have a baseline skill set that I felt strongly wasn't afforded to me until I went to college, which just shouldn't be the case. That's the main draw is,
Yeah,
you know, if especially if you have, if you're looking to just get a crash course for 1 month, like great. Now, the cook group aspect of it, kicks in with yes, we provide, I have a server that, pulls in just low key flips. When NFTs and the NBA Top Shot was going on, we focused on that. Obviously, just as like sneaker culture does, jumping onto cards, jumping onto this, like we're sneaker culture in general, like we're pretty early to stuff in terms of the adoption curves, right? So like,
right.
when chlorine was selling earlier in May and selling out, like, I'll
Yeah,
post about that because
chlorine
at the end of the
tablets, right?
day, what's that?
Chlorine tablets for the pools, right?
Yep. Yeah, but and that's part of it. It's like if I can give tools also while you're in here learning and networking and growing to help you make money as well. So sneaker flips, doing stuff with ticket flips and concerts, card calls, investing, doing stuff with BrickSeek, helping people, providing a monitor service. But the promise isn't, join my group and I'm not trying to sell my lifestyle to someone else. What I'm trying to sell is like, hey, like there's information and things that are really important to be learning and having a grasp of that can forever change how you view things and fundamentally change how you approach business and everything else. And I think that for me, the group I think of as like almost being like a gym membership for your entrepreneurial muscle, right? Like I haven't put out that corny of a advertisement for it, but I also am not really trying to advertise the group at this point. I've kind of
Yeah,
capped it
we
at a
talked about
certain.
the cultish language you need, and it would work.
Yeah, well, dude, here that's the biggest problem. Is it's like I know what I could do to make this group a lot larger, but I don't want someone to be I want someone to be joining based on like either they know someone that's already in the group or I've interacted with them in some way. Like the other day I had someone, I'll put up on my Instagram, hey, like I have some spaces open this month. Like please DM me if you're trying to understand what's going on. So like for instance, someone will hit me up from UK or Canada and ask me whether or not the group's right for them and I'll say no, man, to be honest with you, it's not. Like here's an invite to the public server though. Like I know I have a lot of Canadians in the networking thing. Like maybe you can ask them what group they would use, right? Or I have someone saying, "Hey man, like I saw what you're doing with Come Up Store. I'm really interested in growing e-commerce. Would it be worth my time this month if I joined and we could like work on that?" And it's like, yeah, dude, like 100%. So I want someone to have a positive experience about it. Like I've honestly floated the idea of if I do advertise it as like it's like I'm not out to get someone's fucking $20. Like it's a
Right.
lot bigger than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I
No,
want them to
it sounds much more adult than just a bunch of teens made a cook
yeah,
group.
well, and we
But
have I have teens in the group and older people in the group, but it's like like the group has an ethos of like being respectful to each other and like I've kicked and refunded people like, yo, this is not for you. Like this is not the place for it. Like we don't have, not even on some like super liberal, high horse shit. It's like everyone has to be treating each other with respect. Like there's not a stupid question. If you're asking a question and don't get an answer, like I am in the group every day to at least let you know that like you've been heard, and I think that getting back to what we said earlier about community and having a place of belonging, like that is I'm immensely proud of what's going on in the Discord. And it's like now it's like some of these people like I feel like I know them almost.
yeah.
And like yeah, I'm obviously like running it and kind of like, the owner, so it's a little bit different of an interaction. But some of these guys, if, like you said, have split off into subgroups or, they're doing, they're working together locally to come up with routes for different product, or they're giving each other tips on, XYZ, or offering their discounts at the job that they have for someone else. So
Yep. It's also like how much time can you invest in this, right? Uh, the owners of groups have to be kind of involved and visible. You can't just be sitting back and not talking and not, responding to tickets or sharing stuff that you've learned lately. And there's a limit where you can get where you can only do so much, right? Like, so you can scale this up into 10 servers. I think that's what Savy does. They have like 10 different Slacks, I think.
right.
And there's a mod in each one, or maybe the mod is in all of them and they just copy paste the same thing in each one. But people are still going to make connections with each other, but you yourself as like the founder, let's say, can't be in all 10 of them sharing
Right.
details, right? There's only so much of you to go around.
Right. But that's the thing is there was a especially when not I think around December, there was a moment where I felt like the group reached a tipping point because it got over 1,000 people, and it was like as soon as that happened, I noticed that I was like that there were people in there that were just kind of like either just kind of ruining the culture or didn't know what was going on or being really unsatisfied with their experience there. And I was like, man, I can't really go much higher than this without tremendously sacrificing, the personal touch aspect, which I think is so important.
Right.
But yeah, dude, trust me, like this Discord stuff is great, and it aligns really well with the fact that I'm on the computer a lot for my other work. So it works really well in tandem with the other things I have going on, and I love learning stuff and like talking to experts and figuring stuff out. And like I'm constantly trying to just encourage and share the stuff that I have going on, even if no one, like right now, like I'm on a whole fucking tear about how I really think Topps MLB NFT cards are undervalued. And like there's maybe only like 5 or 6 people in my Discord right now that are like really in it with me. Like taking that deep dive, but it's like I want to just be sharing it because I think these things are exciting and interesting, and
Yeah, you could bounce ideas off them as well.
that. So
One of the things you talked about even here was someone can ask about scaling e-commerce, and I mentioned in the intro you did work at Concepts, and that was, from what I understand, one of the main things that you were doing there was scaling their e-commerce kind of.
that's correct.
Is that accurate? That's what your job was at Concepts?
Correct. Essentially, you were taking a business that was very much on paper receipts and integrating point of sales and then doing multi-channel fulfillment. Because at the same time, Concepts had opened the New York City store, and it also expanded to Dubai. The way Dubai distribution works is a lot different. There's actually in the Saudi states, there's a separate distributor that kind of acts as a middleman for Nike called Sun and Sand Sports. So I didn't really do too much for, but if you can imagine, trying to take, a very rough system for inventory and creating systems to start checking in products when they come in from the vendor so that they go up into Shopify and making sure they get photographed and setting the releases to a certain time so everything's flowing really smoothly.
Was
Uh,
Shopify like the one true system where that's where you enter everything and that's there's
no,
rules
no, no,
around
no.
there?
So like Shopify is great, but like, you can use like I think at the time we were using something called Lightspeed for inventory management because you're also doing a warehousing thing.
Right.
It gets pretty complicated when you have inventory in multiple locations that's getting sent and then checked in again, and you don't obviously want to have a gap anywhere because overselling and errors are costly both on a customer service aspect and
Just the fees of
all around.
refunding.
Yeah. So the stakes are pretty high, and yeah, it was extremely difficult, and at times, kind of flying blind. Here's a good example, actually. Uh, so, like for instance, when you're putting in the inventory into Lightspeed so that it works with a point of sale. So this was before I think Shopify had really rolled out their point of sale. I also have no idea what these guys are using anymore for point of sale, but so it's not enough that you integrate with sales because when you're checking in the product based on where it is, it has to also apply the right local sales tax. But in New York, it's anything over $100, I think, or under $100 isn't taxed, and every dollar over is at the local sales. So, like, imagine having to come up with a way to properly tax product that where these systems are just have a complete blind spot to because they're not used to serving a sneaker and clothing niche that for whatever reason, like in Massachusetts, it's like under 250. There's no sales
Right.
tax. So it's like you have this really there's not many products that are like that. So trying to like solve around that was, I am very glad I'm not doing those things, but oh my God, was that a trial by fire where I just I picked up a lot of important skills, I think.
Yeah, just the tax laws in the US are insane.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing I've seen too, a lot of stores, some of the smaller stores I see, they have like inventory sitting around. I've seen like Adidas shoes that were bricks 2 years ago, still on their clearance section. Yeah, how does a bigger store like Concepts deal with that kind of stuff? It's like I'm on the outside looking in, saying you should have moved that stuff a long time ago. And like, how is it from being on the inside? Because you need turnover. That stuff is taking up space, and that costs a certain amount.
Yeah, I mean, and also, it's money sitting on an invoice that's unpaid. So you have a couple options. You could do an RTV request, and sometimes that'll happen. I remember Adidas did. Maybe I wasn't working in the boutique industry when Adidas did this, but I remember when Adidas had the 4D runners and they were MSRP 350, and then overnight they went up on the website for 200. They were the same SKUs. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah,
So I was thinking like, oh my God, like imagine if I was a retailer that paid wholesale on the original MSRP and now Adidas has kind of arbitrarily dropped the MSRP. And I was thinking about like the implications for that because now the $200 price would be getting pretty close to what the retailer paid wholesale for, and they weren't moving to begin with. So um, I imagine there was probably some sort of RTV thing. So sometimes the retailers will say, "Hey, you have 50 grand in
RTV is return to vendor.
return to vendor." Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You have 50 grand. You can RTV. So like strategically, and again, like I don't want to talk too much about. I'll talk generally about what boutiques would do. Is like strategically, you'd have someone there that's returning to vendor the most fucking brick of the brick product that'll just never sell. Then, if the product's outside of the MAP policy, meaning like MAP policies are basically like what dictates how much you can mark down a product and how the product.
yeah. Like Yeezys can't be marked down.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but then like Easy Supply will shit on that and offer, I
Right.
think Easy Supply was offering like I had a buy sheet in front of me for like 7,000 pairs of fucking 700s, right? 700s. 500s. I can't remember what the SKU was, but anyway.
I bought
Yeah.
Easy Supply had their like season boots. I bought a bunch of them for like 125 off Easy Supply,
Yeah.
and those are probably all going for like 600, 700 bucks because they're so rare. But they just did that. They're like, and I could see them sitting at some retailers, usually in smaller sizes. But
They'll
they're
do
like,
it as well as they'll work with the larger retailer like Stadium Goods. Now, I don't think this is happening quite so much because they've gotten their inventory over controlled, but they'll work with the Stadium Goods and Stadium Goods will sell them on their behalf because there's all kinds of rules about, like for instance, like Yeezys can't restock. Like I remember, I think I fucking signed something for this one. Generally speaking. Like if there's advertisement around Yeezy, the retailers will give you language that you can and can't use. And one of that is you technically, if you're an advertiser, cannot advertise a Yeezy as a restock. I
right.
forget if I go back on the affiliate sites like Solinks and stuff, like I can check what were it was something stupid. Like you could say it was a refresh or something, but not a but my point is like, yeah, that's Matt
Even
Pop.
during this COVID year, all these Yeezys restocked, but they would just put them on the site, no announcement, no nothing, and so
Yeah,
that they were probably following that language, and it was almost like Adidas was helping both retailers and botters because if they got a restock of Wave Runners or Blue Tint or something, but they couldn't advertise it, it was going right onto the site. The people sitting on monitors were quick tasking and checking it out. And so it was
yeah.
like, that's exactly what's happening because of these rules.
Yep. Yeah, you're probably spot on. I mean, I don't know for sure, but the brands will send, hey, you're getting a quick strike allocation. We're sending these out to your stores. You're going to get this many pairs. This is how the launch has to be communicated. I think that happened with some of the Jordan Pinnacle product. There's all kinds of behind the scenes things happening. And then you get someone on Twitter that's like, oh, what? You just dropped them like the bots. And it's like, yeah, not trying to lose our account. So,
Yeah.
deal with it.
There's also a time on Goat where a ton of these like 700 analog Yeezys were all on Goat. And as soon as you like under retail, like way under retail.
Yeah. Oh,
And as soon
did
as
I
you
say
bought them, it
Stadium
would
Goods?
go right
I
into your
meant
Goat
Goat.
storage.
Yeah, I meant Goat app. Goat app was they were picking them up from Easy Supply, and then I think the offer was like they were like 40 or 50% off if you took, but you had to take all, and it was like 13,000 SKUs. I was actually working with the dude trying to get the financing to do them all, but obviously the bigger companies just kind of swooped on them.
Yeah.
But yeah, your point is they have to have a buffer there. They can sell them to Goat under retail, but they can't advertise them on the website that way.
And the same with these 380s, the more brick easy ones, they'll be on the site for max 2-3 days, and then I guess the agreement is we'll pull them and return to vendors. Okay for that because you don't want a Yeezy sitting on the site for 2 years like some of those old Adidas products. And I always joke that sometimes those shoes are actually the most rare because they're so brick that nobody bought them, and then they were
Right.
pulled. But then a lot of the times they get sent to Goat and stuff for under retail just to get rid of them. So even though they're rare on feet, they're under retail on the apps.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, like whether or not something, rare, like a lot of the boutiques will have some insights as to how much product's actually being made. And, sometimes it's surprising to me, what people perceive to be limited versus what really is limited. Like the J Balvin Jordan 1, like that was a very, very limited drop. But resale just didn't really reflect how limited of a drop that was, even being in Jordan 1.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like, am I loud enough to wear this shoe? If it was a mostly, cream shoe, it could probably go up to 1,000, right? Wearability, I think, plays a big part in there. But
yeah,
yeah, no, it's
that's a
it's
good
probably
point.
600-700 bucks right now, right?
But it's you can just imagine like it's like if somehow my mom like worked at distribution and I had information around where allocation was going, it's like you can imagine you'd be able to make some really smart purchases as a reseller if you had that information. But my mom doesn't work at Nike, so it's hard for me to make those conclusions anymore. So
So I always said for retailers, I say they always care when it's their own drop. You probably weren't there at Concepts because I think some of these dunks and stuff came before and maybe after. And I know like bot protection and stuff, it became more widespread probably after you left Concepts. But like what is the thought process at a brand of like, okay, we're not going to care about this easy drop, just put it on the site, but if it's got our name on it, there's marketing, there's more care and thought put towards it.
I mean, I also like besides concepts, like I have a decent amount of like, thought process with Kith and some of these other guys. The boutiques just want the product to sell out. I don't think they give a fuck. I mean, like Bodega obviously did an interesting job with implementing some of the new bot stuff, but I don't think that shoe is really being gassed up enough where it really made a difference. I don't know how many people were trying to bot for that particular shoe. So like there's like a certain PR, aspect to saying, hey, we care about botting to a certain extent. Like Union's doing a good job with that. But these guys just want to sell. Now it's a little bit
Yeah,
different
you can only
here.
care so much.
Right. And also like to a certain extent, like if I'm Bodega and I ordered a size, my size curve and I got 5,000 pairs of those, depending on the drop, Bodega might be sitting there being like, damn, should we like, if it doesn't sell through, should we pull it? Should we pump fake the sellout to maintain the brand? I mean, I know that some boutiques did that because I've been offered boutique collaboration product that never hit any other doors in bulk. So the pump fake sellout was like such a big thing. I think early ASICs, Ronnie Fogg days, like that
Right.
was huge. Perception was such a big thing. So like the retailers just wanted to see they wanted to see the products sell and if the resale price and they wanted to see the resale prices as high as possible afterwards. And then based on how things sold through, you might be able to make decisions on how much more to order next time.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's what Bodega did this time because normally New Balance collabs are limited to like 2,000 or so or 1,000, and this Bodega one, they have had Dunk ones and they've had a bunch of three versions of their 1997 something with New Balance, but this time it seemed like stock was probably like 20,000 just based on order numbers. So
Well, the other thing is you can change, you can manipulate the order numbers. I noticed that I had an assumption they were doing that based on the email that they sent. The way that they sent the email, I was like, man, were they trying to do that to like fuck up Gmail? But like, I also don't really know how Gmail accounts work, like when you're like farming a lot of them or whatever it is. But like, I noticed when they were doing like the email was from like robot free and not their
yeah,
usual email in a subdomain. I was like, huh.
that was probably for because they
20,000,
created the
20,000.
second site.
Yeah, so like here's some background on New Balance. The most product I can think of for New Balance like running through would be like a big New Balance drop would be no, actually it would be be about 5,000 pairs per colorway. The
Yeah,
most I've ever seen because there was also a time where people I think their boutiques were also really interested in being able to hide stock because I know on Shopify people could see what product when product was loaded up, and then someone would say, "Hey, like let's not bot this release because oh my god, they're putting this many units up."
yeah.
Uh, that was
I
definitely
think
something to care
with these
about.
new Shopify sites is usually a new site just starts at order 1,000. So that's where the number 20,000 came from because whoever ordered the last 7.5 that was on the site, their order number was 20,000 or 21,000. So that is what I saw. I didn't firsthand see that. So they could probably set the site to start at 5,000 or 4,000
Right,
or
right.
whatever
Like
it
in
is.
my
Yeah,
own Shopify store right now, I could very easily, manipulate it to make it look like we're selling through more or less. I would be shocked if for the Made in USA they ran 20,000. That would be really pushing their capabilities. At least based on what I know at New Balance, that would be a huge invoice. They'd be looking at whatever 20,000 times like maybe 98 or $100 is. I'm not great at math, but I mean that'd be a fat invoice even for Bodega.
yeah. And I think Undefeated did that too. With their 97 pack that they released recently, they had just a ton of them, and
Yes.
they had no bot protection because they were like, we just need this to move. So we're not gonna ask Shopify to kill proxies and stuff like that. We're gonna just let it
Well,
let it
the
flow
owner of
through.
Undefeated really wants Undefeated to kind of be in the same territory as Supreme, and I've always thought that they haven't milked they have a really special relationship with Nike Sportswear. If you look at how
Yeah,
many collaborations they've gotten versus other American boutiques, I mean, for a while it was like Bodega got a Footscape. Obviously Nike's pushing the Dunk right now, so that's changed it. But it was like, Undefeated was the only game in town for a Nike collab outside of SB. So I think they're just trying to maximize that. I mean, can you imagine, like, right? Kith hasn't done like an Air Max officially, right? Not that kind of.
no,
But it's like, can you imagine if some of these bigger boutiques and got a Nike sportswear collab out of Dunk, like it'd be bananas,
right.
So I think Undefeated is really just trying to maximize. I personally have no idea what that relationship is, but it's very unusual.
No, 100%. Well, Tyler, that was basically all I had. Was there anything else on your end?
No, not really. This is pretty cool. It's fun to be able to kind of talk and share some of this stuff and share my experience, and I'm constantly amazed at what the next kind of generation of people are doing in this space, and I think it's cool.
Yeah,
So
no, I've always, like I said, I watched your videos back then, here and there. I'm not 100% YouTuber, but you were always one of the ones that was more authentic on there. And I did see you, chop it up with haters and stuff like that too. And you held your own. And yeah, that's funny. I'm 43, but I'm considered the next generation, I guess. But really, most of the times I'm just tweeting out jokes, and that's 100% what it's based around. I'm not looking out here. I'm not really out here chasing a bag.
yeah.
Um, I'm doing it for the love of the game and not the gain, I guess. Like
Yeah, we're doing
the
it for the
BC
love.
said.
But when you're building a passion project like that, that's the way you have to go into it, because otherwise you're either going to end up hating doing this thing that you at one time loved, or pretending. And I think that's really scary. So I appreciate the opportunity to be on the podcast. Obviously, I have no idea if people make it to the end. Maybe I could say this, and I should have said this in the beginning, but I think you reach people that I don't, and like I said, I've been making content for quite some time, so um, it's cool to reach new people, and also maybe someone had a thoughts or feelings towards me one way or the other, and hearing this podcast, they can get a little bit more insight into who I am as a person, and the things I stand for, because that, like you said, this is it's who I am, and it's been really, really fun. I'm very, 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 very fortunate that so many of these opportunities have been afforded to me from fucking $100 tennis shoes. So it's kind of cool
Right.
to see the arc.
Yeah. So great. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
So that's it for the show. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks again to Tyler for taking time out and talking with me. I was thinking about, I need like a sign off for the podcast. So I have to brainstorm a couple ideas, something, something corny, sneaker related, or I don't know. I can just tell you to go fuck yourself. So that's the Sockjig Sneaker Podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Go fuck yourself.